Hello, good people of YouTube. Mountbatten here. And today we have the brand new Techline Tier 10 Japanese light cruiser, the Yodo, in port to review for you guys today. Ironically, we are in the New York port since this is the update where the American battleships will be going to early access. I find it funny that we're in this port and not like the Lunar New Year port, the Dragon port normally is what they use for that. But yeah, okay, Wargaming. So this ship has just been released. She's been out for, of course, Super Testers and CCs for some time. But this is the first time I'm getting my hands on her. Ship model looks great. Lots of AA guns that weren't really that effective in real life. You know, gotta love that Japanese AA. So before we go any further, big shout out to the channel's Patreons for making this review and all reviews on this channel possible. I am not a CC nor supported by Wargaming or affiliated with them in any way, shape, or form. Supporting the channel via Patreon is the best place to do so, besides just, of course, watching the videos and the streams. So let's go ahead and take a closer look at the Yodo. She is completely stock, not even a coat of paint on her in port right now, and see what she is like in the game. So, again, completely stock. No economic bonuses are applied yet. Okay, so apparently I did get the Yodo bonus, probably somewhere in the combat missions for the early access event. I was wondering why she did have some economic boost on her. Okay, so whoops, did not mean to click that. So let's go ahead and take. Oh, let me look at her camo before we go any further. Man, they have really just, like, dropped the ball with the camos since the economic rework. Like, come on. You couldn't just, like, use the camo that the Zal uses and just mix it up a little bit. It's just black or light green. We can have Sprite-flavored Yodo, or we can have edgy teenager Yodo. That's it. Wow, okay. Thankfully, I have a ton of, like that. That just looks so much better. Alright, game. Alright, let's go ahead and take that off. Okay, so yeah, camo's kind of sad. Alright, so armor is 25 millimeters, well, everywhere externally. And around back too, except for the bottom, which is 40. Let's take that off, and there we go. Her main belt is 110 millimeters. Citadel is 63, and her Citadel is, I do believe, whoops, above the waterline. Correcto. Alright, I mean, it's a light cruiser, and it's not surprising from what I've seen from the ones I did get in early access. I mean, like I've said several times in videos in the past, this thing is absolutely made out of explodium. At least the, what's the tier 8? The Shimanto. I've played that one quite a bit. Yeah, the Shimanto. That one is made out of explodium. I played that one quite a bit. Alright, survivability 55,300, which is, did they nerf it under the Zal's HP? I think that's more HP than the Zal. Yep, lol. The light cruiser has more HP than the Zal. Zal, ironically, does have actually decent armor if you take a look at it. The problem is it's decent armor, and it actually pins the shells that get flung at it. This thing doesn't have decent armor, so it's going to eat dirt. 19% torpedo damage reduction. Artillery, she has 6x3 150 millimeter guns. That is quite a few guns. That's 18 guns, man. Reload in 12.5 seconds, 180 in 6 seconds. That is something that this line does have, very fast turrets. Maximum dispersion of 157 meters and a maximum range of 18 kilometers. The HE does a maximum damage of 2,500, 10% chance of causing a fire on the target, and 30 millimeters of pin. God, that is so close to 32. That is infuriatingly close to 32. We'll talk more about that in a second. Missile velocity, 930 meters a second, and the AP does a maximum range of 2,850, and 930 meters a second for it as well, coming out of the tubes. Secondary, she has 4x2 100 millimeter guns. I'm going to imagine that's more for AA than anything, but if you are curious, they do have a range of 7.3 kilometers, maximum damage of 1,700, 6% chance of causing a fire on the target, 30 millimeters of pin, and have a missile velocity of 1,000 meters a second. So these are the Harugumo guns. These are the same secondaries that, well, not the same, well, the same guns, but not the same mounts that the Shikishima gets, apparently. Are they the same mounts? I don't think they're the same mounts. Let's take a peek real quick. Yeah, because, like, the Shikishima is literally, yeah, the Harugumo turret. Okay, same guns, not the same mounts. Torpedoes, these are also billed as torpedo cruisers, and that is very true. So she gets 4x4, 16 610mm torps. They reload in 100 seconds, have a range of 15 kilometers, maximum damage of 23,767, speed of 60 knots, and detected by 1.7 kilometers. Okay. Again, more on that in a minute. She does get depth charge aircraft, thank God. The tier 8 does not. So that's a godsend. A is 86, and she's got a lot of it. She's got 20 single-mounted 25mm guns, 12 triple-mounted 25mm guns, 12 dual-mounted 40mm guns, 4 dual-mounted 100mm guns, the Harugumo guns, and then 6 triple-mounted 150mm guns. So the main battery guns do contribute to the AA by a lot. I'm curious to see how easy these turrets are to get knocked out since she has so many of them. 34 knot top speed, 930 meter turning circle radius, and a rudder shift time of 12.1 seconds. Concealment base is 12.4 kilometers. If it's like the Shimata, we should actually be able to get it down pretty darn good. Alright, for her consumables, she does get a heal, thank God. 276 HP per second for 28 seconds, 80-second reload time. She does get a fodder. A fodder. Me mixing up spotter and fighter. She does get a fighter, my bad, for 60 seconds. And it patrols in a 3-kilometer radius. No spotter. A fodder. You get a choice of DFA or Hydro. DFAA, looks like standard DFA, 50%, 300%, 40-second action time, 80-second reload time, 3 charges base. Hydro, 3.5 kilometer detection. Oh, I'm sorry, detection of torpedoes, 3 kilometers. 5 kilometers. Okay, so it's 5 kilometer Hydro. Okay, that sounds much better. And that is it for the Yodo. So I'm going to go ahead and throw a commander and module build on here, guys, and I'll see you guys right back here. Alrighty, so I basically threw my Shimanto captain over because this build was working quite well for me in the Shimanto, and I don't see why it wouldn't continue to work decently well with the Yodo. So, we have Last Stand. Then we have Swift Fish. Last Stand because, I mean, it is a light cruiser. I do imagine, even with the modules that I do have on it, the rudder and engine are going to get knocked out quite a bit. Then I went with Demolition Expert. Oh, and Swift Fish, of course, to get the torpedo speed up a bit, make them a bit more hard to dodge once they get spotted. Demolition Expert, of course, more fire is nice. And plus it gives us a nice 15% bonus to the explosion radius when we have to deal with subs, so that's pretty nice. You could obviously Fill the Tubes. I think that would be a really solid choice as well, but again, I think this build will work decently well for us. Then I took Enhanced Torpedo Explosive Charge, which gives us a 15% boost to our torpedo damage. And then Adrenaline Rush, because of course, as we take damage, this gives us a boost to our reload time. No, actually, I think I'm going to reset this real quick, because I just realized Superintendent is a thing that we do need. So let's do this instead. So I'm going to take Last Stand, again, because of the modules. Demolition Expert, again, for the same reasons. Then we're going to take Superintendent for the extra heal. And let me get IFHE, because I do want to be able to pin 32. Adrenaline Rush, Concealment, Survivability, and we have another 1-point skill. Okay. Let's go ahead and let's take Swiftfish again. Why not? Whoops, there we go. Alright. So, logic behind this. We do have an extra heal, and like I was saying earlier, these ships do get vibe checked pretty hard. And again, the enhanced damage to the torpedoes is definitely a good pickup, but you're already doing, 23,000 damage. And yes, doing more is definitely better. But staying alive is also a good thing as well. I do think you could potentially, once you get used to, just for playing the lower tier ones, and once you get used to dodging it and such, you might be able to drop that heal for the damage if you want to play it that much riskier. Makes perfect sense in my mind. In IFHE, again, because we want to be able to pin 32, we're going to be playing at tier 10 against super ships. There's a lot of 32 plus at that tier. And hello, ferry, or steamboat. And consummate expert again to get the consummate down as much as we can. Survivability expert to give us that nice boost to our maximum HP. Modules, I went with main armaments mod 1 because, again, with the amount of guns on the ship, I'm sure they're probably going to be able to get knocked out quite easy. So this reduces the chance of that happening by 20%. It gives a 50% boost to the main battery survivability, along with a 20% reduction to the repair time. Same for the torpedo tubes as well. Engine room, again, it's a light cruiser. I'm sure we're going to get those engine room modules and steering gear modules are going to get knocked out a lot. So this reduces the chance of that happening by 20% for both the engine room and the steering gears, and reduces the repair time by 20% as well. I went with aiming systems mod 1 to give us a 7% boost to our dispersion. These guns do seem quite accurate from what I've played with the lower tier ones, so I would expect the same here at the higher tier with the Yodo. So, more accurate shells are more gooder. Yes, I know that doesn't make sense. It's funny, that's why I say it. So steering gears mod 1 to give us another boost to our rudder shift time by 20%. Concealment to give us a 10% boost to our concealment range. And then I went with main battery mod 3 to give us a boost to our reload time. You could go with the range, but we're already out to 18 kilometers, which I think is pretty good with this ship. And let me check the concealment now. Yeah, 10 kilometers. That's a pretty nice cushion there with the range and the concealment. So I think we'll be okay. If not, if I get vibe checked, right away for being too close, I'll go back and swap this module out. But that now gives us a 11-second reload time on the main battery guns, and the survivability with the skill is up to 59,800 with survivability expert as well. Again, 4 charges of that repair party 2 now as well. Maneuverability, we now have a 9.6 second rudder shift time on that rudder. Okay, so I think this is pretty well kitted out. I'm going to go ahead and take it in the battle. I'll meet you guys there in a voiceover review after a few games. Hey guys, SealordMountbatten here, and I am pleasantly surprised. Yodo isn't terrible. It's actually okay. I know, surprising, right? I did go into this, obviously, with very low expectations. The mid-tier ships weren't that impressive to me. The tier 8 was kind of alright once I got a hang of it, but it's just, yeah, with no heal, it's pretty miserable. Now, granted, the matches I had were very similar to the one that you're watching right now, where it was all kiting. I was on the side that was being pushed by the enemy team, so I kited, and these ships are perfect for that, as are the mainline Japanese heavy cruisers as well. So, Yodo felt, pretty solid. She was good at what I was having to put her through. The rudder mod definitely helped out with being a little bit more maneuverable and making it a bit of a tougher order for the enemy ships to hit my Yodo, and my Yodo was coming under a lot of 20-inch fire, as you can see in the match in the background. I had a Satsuma, an Incomparable, and a Hanover, well, that's 19-inch, all on my side, and that's very scary in these ships because one of those shells absolutely wrecks the ship if it citadels it, and it's not a very hard thing to do, of course. So we're going to go through her stats and such. Again, I'm going to talk about each section as you guys can see the gameplay in the background going on. I didn't swap between the reload and the range module. I thought 18 kilometers was fine. Again, playing with the concealment and using island cover appropriately, I didn't have much of a hard time doing damage in the Yodo. So let's go ahead and run through her parameters again. So the armor, again, fully what I expected out of the ship. Don't get hit, because it's not going to be a fun time. As you can see, a lot of the glancing blows and overpins, again, going up against 20-inch shells, ate through my health pretty well. Granted, I believe in the match you're watching in the background, I don't get vibe checked through and through, but as I'm sure most of you guys have seen or have experienced, either if you got the ships in early access or you shooting at them in-game, they are very much light cruisers. And they're not light cruisers like the Smolensk and such, where you can blap them and they just get a bunch of overpins and shrug it off. No, these explode. So yeah, don't get hit. That's what I have to say about the armor. Survivability 59,800 HP with the build that I have on it definitely helps out a lot, having such a large amount of HP. That does kind of help offset the fact that, again, you basically have no armor. Again, with these, again, in this match, the 28 shells I was facing against, one of those shells does about 19,000 damage, which is about a third of my HP. So, yeah. Now, of course, going up against normal ships, that does help quite a bit. Well, it does help in general as well. So that does offset the terrible armor a little bit. Again, you can still easily get vibe checked in these things. The guns are actually really comfortable. I do have IFHE on, so I'm not setting as many fires as you probably would without IFHE, but the fact that I do have 18 guns, this is where the sheer amount of shells you're throwing downrange offsets the fact that you have a long reload time. This is one of my chief complaints about this line, is that why would I play this over any other cruiser line in the game? Because yes, I have a large number of guns, but like in the Shimanto, again, you're doing mediocre damage with the guns. You're basically, I haven't done the math, but it really feels like you're still playing a heavy cruiser, because you're throwing shells at the target every, what was it, like 13, 14 seconds with the tier 8, and because they're small caliber guns, they're not doing that much damage per shell, but since you're throwing a large number of shells at the target, it does kind of make up for it, but it doesn't really feel like, again, you have a ton of guns. With the Yodo, it feels like you have a large number of guns, and that of course helps with the fire starting potential too. Even though I'm running IFHE, I was starting a fair amount of fires. Now I do have, and I forgot to mention this, I do have the fire flag on, both the fire flags, and with Demolition Expert with IFHE, my shells now have a 7% chance of causing a fire per shell with 18 shells. So I wasn't really having issues starting fires with these guns. Velocity-wise, very comfortable. Very, very comfortable. One of the most comfortable set of light cruiser guns in the game. If you play the other light cruisers like the Worcester and the Minotaur, once you get out to like 18 kilometers with those shells, if you can push them out that far, it takes a hot minute to get there. With the Yodo here, it still takes a second to get there, but it's way, way, way less floaty than those other light cruisers. That also means at closer range, if a DD does pop up, they are going to have a very, very bad time. I got an earlier shot off at, I think it was a Z42 in this match, and I was in the thunderstorm front. Keep in mind too, I think like half of this match I was in the thunderstorm front. So this is with the debuff to the accuracy, which I think is a 5% reduction to your dispersion. And the guns are still plenty accurate enough to where I think I cleaved like 5 to 6k off of a Z42, which is of course like a third of that man's health right there, no problem. The guns are very, very comfortable. AP, I didn't use the AP much on the Yodo. If something does come around you that is broadsided and it is a light cruiser, even a heavy cruiser, with 18 150mm guns with the AP, it's going to hurt them. I had plenty of that in the Shimanto, so I'm sure the properties of the shells are very similar. They shouldn't be any worse for sure. But again, 18 150mm guns, that's going to hurt whatever comes around broadside to you. Of course, unless it's like a battleship. But even if it's a battleship, you can't aim for the bow or the stern and do a decent bit of damage there to them. So guns all around pretty nice. The gun angles aren't that great. To get all the guns on target, you do have to show a very uncomfortable amount of broadside to the target. But like you see in this match, I was able to use island cover and use the maneuverability of the ship to kind of minimize that. With the rudders modules on, you do have a pretty snappy rudder, so you can kind of snap around, get your broadside off. Then by the time the enemy ship's retaliated, be again as angled as you need to be in order to either hopefully bounce their shells or think thin and dodge their shells with the ship. Couple that with a decent turret traverse, even with the reload module on the Yodo, the turret's still 180 and 6.9 seconds. That's plenty fast. Plenty enough to keep up with the ship. So, again, the guns are very comfortable. In my opinion, some of the better light cruiser guns in the game. It is a little odd though, because it still does feel like you're playing a heavy cruiser with the firing rate and such. All right, so the torpedoes. Again, these are torpedo cruisers. How are they? They're great. They reload in 100 second space. Again, that's without me building into them. So if you want to build into them, you get that down even faster. These are, again, 23K alpha torpedoes. Very good at shutting down a flank. You can just keep spewing these things out. You got 2 per side. You know, you launch 2 sets at whatever channel you don't wish for the enemy team to go down. Swing around, drop the other 2 sets, and shoot, before you know it, you got them back. I was a little off put by the 100-second reload time. I don't play a lot of torpedo boats, but they felt nice. You know, it's nothing insane like a 60-second reload time. You won't be vomiting them out, but you can definitely use them effectively on an off flank to make the enemy team's life that much more miserable. And if they do hit, again, 23K alpha. Unmodded. Throw the commander module in there. Going to be doing quite a bit of damage with these torpedoes. I mainly played it as a gunboat. That's just me. That's my experience in cruisers. Again, like I said, I haven't really done a lot of torpedo boat stuff. I was just throwing them at the areas that I thought the enemy team was going to be coming down. Definitely dissuaded a couple of battleships from pushing, and I think I got a hit or 2 in the match you're watching right now. AA didn't really get to test this. I think I had a CV game or 2, but they kind of just left me alone, oddly enough. But I mean, like, AA, it's hit or miss. Unless you have God tier AA, which these things don't have, it's kind of like, again, up to the skill level of the enemy CV. Is he going to eat the flak? Is he going to dodge the flak? So, I mean, that's just how AA is nowadays. Maneuverability, again, with the rudder mod, very maneuverable ship here. She has a top speed with a speed flag equipped with 35.7 knots, which is on the slower side for tier 10 cruisers, no engine boost or anything like that. But felt pretty maneuverable enough, kept me alive. Not going to win any drag races, but not slow. So, it aight, except for the rudder shift time. The rudder shift time is pretty good. Concealment also good, 10 kilometers with the module and the commander. Definitely a big factor in keeping me alive in the matches you see in the background. And again, the use of island cover as well. That does help the ship get a little bit closer when you can. In non-CV games, you can play a little bit more ballsy, a little closer to the target. Just, of course, do keep in mind that when you are spotted, again, you don't have a lot of armor, so you want to play the ship appropriately. But yes, very nice concealment, and definitely a big factor in keeping the ship in the game. So all in all, the Yodo, it's aight. The guns are very good. If the turret angles were better, if the ship wasn't made out of explodium, I probably would give it pretty high marks, but the ship is made out of explodium. The turret angles aren't that great. The torpedo angles are actually pretty good. I forgot to mention that with the torpedo tubes. I mean, especially for Japanese cruisers, the torpedo angles are fantastic. But by other cruiser standards, it's like, it's okay. So, an excellent kiting cruiser. A mean ship to have on the off flank for sure, and you definitely don't want to be caught anywhere near this thing in a destroyer with someone that can aim, because they're going to murder you in a salvo or 2. So overall, I'd give the Yodo a 7 out of 10. It's aight, leaning towards good. Definitely, if you played a lot of kiting cruisers, you know exactly how to play this thing. She's very good at what she does, and if you can get the Wasad dances down, is a very tough ship to kill. However, if someone's playing her and they don't have the Wasad dances down, they're not good at dodging, it's going to be a pretty easy kill. Not something I would take into competitive for sure, nowhere near tanky enough for that, but for a random battles off-flank farming ship, excellent ship here, in my opinion, for that. So her positives are her very comfortable guns, 23K alpha torps with a 15 kilometer range and 100 second reload time, her high maneuverability when you build into it, and her good concealment. And her AA's, I don't think I'd really throw it in the positive side. You do get Hydro and DFAA, of course, as well. Now, of course, if you have DFAA on, that's going to make the situation a lot better for you. Downsides being, well, the ship is made out of explodium, and the turret angles are a little, in my opinion. They could have been better, given that even angle, the ship will still eat utter crap. But other than that, pleasantly surprised here with the Yodo being as good as she is. The rest of the line, not so much. The grind to get here, I've played the mid-tier ones, is pretty miserable. I haven't played the tier 9 yet. That'll be the one I'll be checking out next. So let me know if you guys want to see a standalone first impressions video on the tier 9 as well. So guys, that's my 2 cents on the Yodo. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to drop a like and leave a comment and subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 50,000 subs, and I can't thank you guys enough for that. Hope you guys have a wonderful Thursday. Hope to catch you guys in the next one.